Keep California cowgirls from vanishing. Welcome to the Urban Cowgirl Show. Training our horses and miniature cows in ranch versatility. Penning Rusty and Susie, our bull and heifer. Roping Rusty with Morgan horse Semi. Training Eve to drive cart. Training Eve to work over her haunches with a motor cow simulator. Training Eve to lay down. Training Eve to harness, pull a log. Training Semi to harness, pull a log on turf. Jumping at liberty to music, making our Morgan horses our partners. Training Eve on a cow roping simulator. Training on our driveway, which is covered by sand, so we have a straight track. Stepping over poles, jumping over crossbar jumps. Training in our trail obstacles area. Semi on the big steps. Morgan horse Sadie doing obstacles rainlessly. Semi drives a cart. Sadie pulls a log. Sadie learns to pull a cart. Miniature zebu heifer Susie learns to drive a cart. Bull Rusty learns to pull a harrow. Following moving objects.
All right, I'm on top of Shadrach Triton Semi, my best cow horse. And I am going to be working my motor cow in my square pen today. It's a rainy day. But fortunately, we've planned ahead and we have a moving object in the square pen. And unfortunately, it requires an operator. Alexis is operating it for me. I would much prefer that it be controllable by remote control, which those products are available, but quite expensive. And so I just make do here with what I have inexpensively created at Minmore Farms to do my ranch horse versatility training, and especially to get all my Morgans ready for cow work. And this spring, we will continue to work with my little miniature zebu cattle, which is a real-life moving object, and it's a lot more fun to do it that way. But for training, here we go. I'm going to just do a few movements with this motor cow. Now let me point out to you that the motor cow runs along cables off the ceiling, so we don't have to set it up each time. My cameraman will zoom in for you to see it's an elaborate but not expensive construction, and the moving object is just a stuffed cow. I have a rope hanging from it so that it doesn't sway too much after it stops. These are just additions to this training device that I have added as I saw a need for it, as I used it for training. Now I'm going to place Semi in front of the cow. First I'm going to let her go up and smell it, because it could be perceived as an obstacle, not only because of the way it looks, but because of the way it sounds. So the first thing I'm going to do is let her investigate. Then I'm going to move her over a ways back from the cow. Let Alexis move the cow back and forth so that the motor sound is something I can deal with from a distance. Good. opportunity to practice moving over the haunches. And in fact, in this short run, we can actually pick up a canter from time to time as well. Okay, I'm going to put myself in position about 8 foot away from the moving object. Okay, Alexis, and do a random pattern. Notice that I go all the way around 180 degrees before I let Semi follow the moving object, and Alexis knows that. So if I haven't gotten the proper position, she'll stop the cow and let me do the training. She anticipated. Did you see that? Before the cow moved, she said, whoa, that cow's going to move. So I had to correct. And Alexis understands that. So I just added a request to stop for a minute and let me reposition my horse. I want my horse, at this point in her training, to move when the moving object moves, not when she thinks the moving object is going to move. Okay, Alexis is doing random patterns. Let's go. That was real soft. Okay, she's leaking forward a little bit. I'm going to back her up. I don't want her leaking into the moving object. I'm going to put her back in position. I'm going to let her rest for a few seconds. Don't want her to get too excitable. Okay. I had to do some correction with my right leg on her shoulder because she was leaning in towards the moving object. By the way, this cow does stop. Sorry. It does stop when you've gone too far, if you haven't stopped it yourself with the toggle switch. Okay, I'm going to put myself in position again. And then if we can get a good move, which I did have a few good ones on that run, back and forth, where Semi watched it, Semi moved with it, and Semi didn't require any cueing from me. She knew what her job was. If I can get another move or two like that, we'll keep the lesson short today, and we'll show you our progress with Semi and our other Morgans following moving objects. Let me get in position. Okay. That's in the middle. And over, over. Wait a minute. Almost had a good time to stop, and then she started to pull her shoulder in again. So, one more move or two until I stop on a good note. Okay, random movements. Stop in the middle. Wait a minute. We were anticipating, and then she didn't move, but you know cows do that. Okay. Okay, that felt really good. Let me give you a short discussion of how I felt in the saddle. Semi definitely was watching. She doesn't quite understand what the right posture is, and that's what I'm working on. She never once made me feel she was going to run off with me or considered that moving object an obstacle, even though it made a lot of noise, even though sometimes it clanked. So that's something that we work with our horses all the time. What is and what isn't an obstacle? What should they and what should they not be able and willing to do? And in this case, Stemi showed you where she is on her training on following a moving object, which happens to be our motor cow. Here's our new attempt at providing a moving object, which our horses can follow so we can continue to train them to do cow work, to move over their haunches. We have Eve warming up out here in my obstacles area. And as soon as Alexis feels ready, with Eve's focus, she's going to bring her into this what we call southeast corridor. And we have an ATV operator. We're going to see if this can be an effective training method for following moving objects. We have some portable panels here that I moved out as far as they will go until they hit the tree line, so we have a lot of room to work this ATV, even if we have to go away from the fence. In other words, maybe we won't have to have it go in a straight line only, because cows don't only go in a straight line. So here comes Alexis. We're going to give it a try and turn on the camera and show you the results. This is Sonia Sokolow, the Urban Cowgirl. This has been a very rainy week, more rain ahead. We're hoping that this ground surface, in spite of the rain, will be adequate for running the ATV with Eve working over her haunches. All right, you're watching our first attempt. The instructions are for the ATV operator to take it up on a straight path, and Eve, being ridden by Alexis, is going to follow it. Is it freaky to Eve so far? No, I don't think so. Now let's see if we can back it up. We do have a bit of a hill back here, so we're going to get some better batteries. This ATV is about 2-3 years old. Okay, I can see that at that slight slope, he's having to help it go back. Now let's see what happens when he gets back on the flat. Can we go in reverse without turning? Let me have an interview here with my ATV operator. It wouldn't go back?
No, it didn't have enough kick.
Didn't have enough kick, so we're going to have to get some new batteries. Now notice that on the back wheel of this ATV, it's not on the close wheel here, it's on the far wheel, we have some chains on there so it has better traction. Therefore, Stan, if you would just go about, up to where it starts sloping and see if you can go back. just to see if we can get Eve, she seems to be okay on it, to follow it over her haunches. Eventually we want this to be an 80-90 foot run where we can pick up a canter. And we've got it going in reverse. Now you can see the chains on the back wheel. Yeah, well, with a little bit of extra kick from some new batteries, maybe we can do it. Now here's another test. We're going to have Stan take the ATV to where the corridor gets wide, and he's going to make a U-turn. Okay, Stan, and we'll see what Eve says about that. A little bit of concern on Eve's part, so we use it. When you see that Eve is causing any kind of concern, Stan, just stop. We got to give her time to get used to this potentially spooky object, but all my horses have training in obstacles awareness, and we just have to make Eve realize that this isn't a predator. And I see that we have traction problems because I really have too much ground cover here. Haven't had enough helpers here to clear this area out, but we can remove the organic material, maybe put a light coating of sand here. These are all the things we need to do to make sure that we have economical training aids here in this urban rural setting so that we can continue to train our Morgan horses for cow work. Okay, let's see what Stan decides to do for the last minute or so. We'll turn the camera back on when we have a plan. Okay, here's our final attempt today. Eve is supposed to follow the moving object. We have a traction problem. You're seeing all of the things, all of the problems that we're going to have to deal with to make this an effective moving object for a training tool here on our east corridor at Midmore Farms. And of course, Eve, to be a cow horse, has to be able to follow the moving object at the speed with which the moving object is going, whether it be slow or fast. She has to understand that it's her job to parallel the motion or follow behind it, whatever we're asking. So we'll show you our progress as we work out our problems. Mechanical objects that we use to follow with the horses to teach them to work over their haunches. Today we're going to try a human object, and that object is going to be me. We're going to see how hard it's going to be to run a long path, let's say 70 to 90 feet, to change speed, to change the path from straight to curved. We're going to see how hard it's going to be for a human being to do it, because maybe that's a good option if you don't have a mechanical device that works for you or that you can afford to have. So here's our first few minutes of attempt at asking Eve, who's being ridden by Alexis, to follow me, the urban cowgirl, as the moving object here in our east corridor. Cow's coming towards you, so you got to back up. A little dangerous. Yeah. I'm a little bit out of breath, but that was doable. You saw how I kind of crouched. I was trying to be in a bovine-like posture. I went out into the middle and came back. That was a little tricky because Eve needs a whole lot more work to become push button at this. So I didn't want to be run over by a horse that didn't understand what was her job. The ground is not cleaned up yet, so it was a little bit slippery, especially at the far end where it gets just slightly sloping. And Alexis, what's your comment?
Oh, well, towards the end there's a slope, so when she was coming back up there, it was a little hard to get her to make the 180 uphill.
Okay, you know, if you're in an arena doing a cattle cutting event, there aren't going to be any uphills. But you know, I'm going for ranch horse versatility. Moving cows wherever. And there are going to be uphills. There probably even will be ground fall, deadfall that makes the ground slippery. So these are the things that we do here at Minmore Farms. We make our horses and our little mini cows ranch versatile so they can help us do the job here in maintaining our ranch, Minmore Farms. And that's all for today. Sonia Sokolow, the Urban Cowgirl. Well, here's our next session on working on following moving objects. Now, this training aid has been in prior shows, but for the last few minutes of this show, I'm reviewing it for anybody who hasn't seen the prior shows. This is my cable cow, simulated cable cow. It moves on cables, operated by an exercycle. I'm showing you how it moves. Back and forth. It doesn't come around, it just goes in a straight line. It's about a 60-foot run. Gina on Sadie today. To get her to give us straight paths at various speeds. Mostly we just want proper form today and show you how we train her to follow this moving object, the exercycle cable cow.
Working on having her, as Sonia said, go in straight lines and at a steady pace if possible, and when I'm asking her to halt, have good form and keep her head down and have her haunch underneath her. And she starts to get, the problem is she starts to get a little antsy and anticipating and anxious. So I'm really just trying to take it like one run at a time and stop slowly, turn slowly, and then trot on, and then stop again, and keep going until she really is relaxed about that. And then eventually, hopefully, we can get the canter.
Notice that we don't have spurs on today. Gina doesn't like to, so that's okay with me. And it's not one of my favorite training tools either, but it is a very useful tool if used properly for lateral work. So I don't object to it. I often wear them, but sometimes I don't, and Gina doesn't like to wear them. So you'll see how Sadie responds to Gina's request to follow this moving object without that particular training aid. The way we do this is I'm the exercycle operator. I watch for Gina to put herself in position, step a step or two back so that we're sure that Sadie will work off her haunches. If Sadie starts getting unruly, like right now, we wait. This is a training session. Gina will do whatever exercises she needs to do to get Sadie's focus. Notice that the arena is covered with storm debris. It's been about 6 days of rain here. But you know, my horses are to learn to do ranch versatile tasks around here, and definitely is not something that you need a clean sanded arena for. Okay, if I see you step back and she's being reasonable, I'll move the cable cow. Then I wait for Gina to stop and collect. Up, Sadie. Yes, that was good over the haunches. I stop at various random places unless I'm requested to do a certain pattern. It looks like this is just an exercise of backing, straight backing, so I stopped the cable cow. I didn't know that that's what Gina was going to do. Maybe she didn't know. There's even a branch on her back foot. Be aware of that. A small one. so she's feeling that. But she's a ranch versatile horse. That shouldn't bother her. Sadie's being real quiet. Yes, and she picked up a nice trot because I moved the cloth cow very quickly. Follow moving object. Soon as I see that the rider is ready, I'll pedal this cable cow southward. Around she goes. Good. I'm going to stop short this time. Not as long a run as I could. Back. Nice. All right, we've been working her in the arena away from the moving object. We're still doing some straight paths backwards. Gina has found that if she lifts her hands up and out, she gets more compliance. Good. Oh, I like that. Did that feel good?
Yeah, except the hop.
The hop, yes. The hop doesn't bother me at this point in training. Eventually, we'd like to get rid of the hop, but in some respects, it shows enthusiasm. So, okay, we're going to quit today. This was more on following a moving object at Minmore Farms.
Our cast of characters: Sadie and Eve, Sammy, Rusty and Susie, heifer calf Sela. For more information, www.cowgirlchannel.com.